Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Aakriti Pandita. I am a physician scientist at the University of Colorado. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Clean Notes. We are trying to solve the problem of poor medical documentation that slows down clinicians and bleeds hospital revenue. So our software is a EHR embedded AI documentation tool. It's built for inpatient providers and it enables hospital revenue recovery. So everybody knows medical documentation is a huge mess, but it's not well known that that's especially true for hospitalized patients. As a practicing provider myself, I have seen and experienced how redundant and poor our documentation is. Not too long ago, I was burnt out because of that. Documentation problems could broadly be characterized under two buckets. One is the problem of missing documentation, and another is the problem of inefficient documentation. For example, if I admit a patient with pneumonia and do everything right medically, until and unless I document everything I did in enough detail in my notes in a language that's supported by the insurance wouldn't reimburse the hospital appropriately for that. That causes the problem of insurance underpayment. So in short, what doctors write drives the hospital revenue. Now, in order to make sure my documentation is adequate, I have to spend a lot of time to type out everything. For example, if I spend 1 hour taking care of this patient, I spend 2 hours writing about it. What does that make me? A highly inefficient doctor, right? And I'm not even going into the tedious nature of documenting itself that causes clinical inaccuracies and information loss in the medical notes, and that can cause increased hospital expense as a result of those adverse events. So this is a massive problem. Every year, hospitals lose out on $42 billion a year because of that. Now, I keep talking about hospitalized setting. What does that mean? So in general, care in the United States is delivered either in an outpatient setting, which is when the patients are stable, they go to doctors' offices and get care there. If they're sick, they're admitted to the hospitals. That's the hospitalized inpatient setting that we are focusing on. The workflow is very different in an inpatient setting compared to the outpatient clinics. For one, the providers who take care, control the setting, they are known as hospitalists. They are exclusively trained to take care of hospitalized setting. This is also the fastest growing medical specialty. In between 2012 and 2019, they have seen a growth of 50%, and they're projected to keep increasing by 26% by 2030. These hospitalists, they are our users. Now, why now? Hospitals now have a pressing need to prevent rising insurance underpayments, especially because insurance is now increasingly using AI to process these claims. As you can see in the graph on the right, there's an annual shortfall of $100 billion in reimbursement to hospitals because of these underpayments. And over the last decade, even after adjusting for inflation, this has led to $1 trillion loss. Now, in parallel, there's another problem, which is the problem of workforce shortage. Workforce constitutes about 60% of the hospital expenses. While employment needs are increased by 20%, there's only been 4% increase in the employment. This leads to massive shortage of healthcare workforce. Now, this shortage, along with an increase in insurance underpayments, is already causing accelerated closure of hospitals across the country. So what is the solution? If what doctors write drives the hospital revenue, by increasing the capture of clinical information in the notes, we can increase insurance reimbursement appropriately. Because we are assisting providers do that, that increases their efficiency and decreases the hiring needs. The result, increased revenue and increased margins for hospitals. That is what we are doing at Clean Notes. We are making a productive hospitalist that translates to financially robust health systems. So a bit about our innovation at Clean Notes. We are a provider-friendly EHR embedded app that works by reducing several steps in redundancies in the note writing process. Because Clean Notes works in real time, this has special relevance in inpatient setting. For example, Going back to the pneumonia patient, when I'm admitting the patient, I'm not just taking care of pneumonia. I'm also taking care of his diabetes. Last night, the blood pressure went up. This morning, potassium went down. And the next day, his blood pressure may go down. As you can understand, inpatient space is very dynamic. And that's precisely how Clean Notes helps here, because it works in real-time fashion. Under the hood, our technology is a proprietary mix of several AI and non-AI algorithms that synthesize clinical data from multiple sources in the EHR to support these documentation decisions for clinicians. So we're going to start at internal medicine hospitalists. There are about 60,000 of them in the country. That gives us a TAM of $1 billion. Once we establish success there, we're going to branch out to other inpatient specialties. There are several of them, and everything combined would give us a tremendous market size of 30 billion TAM. A bit about the team. I am a practicing hospitalist myself at the University of Colorado. In my research role, I study large language models and their implementation in systemic healthcare settings. My co-founder, Nikhil, he's also faculty at CU, and he is a health AI expert who's the technical lead and developing the software. So similarly based models, companies and products in the market are priced anywhere between 200 to 700 per seat per month. Similar to that, we are going to be a subscription-based service and with variable pricing models based on number of users. Overall, based on these, our product is predicted to give a revenue of $4 million a year for one large hospital system. If we combine all the inpatient specialties together, that would give us a projected revenue of $27 million a year. So the competition approaches this in two ways. On one hand, we have the productivity SaaS at the front end, which is focused on increasing doctors' efficiency. And on the back end, we have these coding softwares that extracts several codes from the notes to do the billing at the back end. We stand in the middle. We don't have direct competition because we are doing something very unique here. We are trying to create a new space between these two areas. So because none of these two spaces are equipped to deal with a real-time inpatient workflow. Our closest competition comes from the productivity SaaS in the front end. The largest players in those space are Microsoft Nuance, Bridge, and 3M. The way they work is by voice-enabled transcription. They're a transcription-based service. We don't do that. And that transcription has utility in an outpatient setting where you're getting information, capturing the doctor and patient conversation to get a note. That does not have utility in inpatient space. We are highly razor focused in inpatient space, differentiated to that with hospitalist as the niche. So far, we have done our customer discovery interviews. We started from there with iCore program, and then we made an MVP based off that. We already have a patent filed, and we have our MVP integrated into the EHR. We are now starting our usability testing with the first set of users, and we will proceed to clinical pilot after that. Our goal is deployment at the largest healthcare system in Colorado, and then kind of expand to other larger healthcare systems across the country. We will then go to other inpatient specialties after demonstrating success in hospital medicine. Our target acquisition goal is $1 to $5 billion. Our closest competitor at Bridge has raised $850 million to date. Raised over $200 million to date, with a post valuation of $850 million. And Nuance's acquisition by Microsoft was one of the largest in the history. They got acquired for $18 billion when they were making an annual revenue of $1.3 billion. Our fundraising ask is a bit over 1 million. As you can see here, our predominant spending would be on the software development, followed by sales and marketing. So in summary, Clean Notes is solving the problem of poor hospital documentation, which is highly inadequate and inefficient right now, slowing down clinicians and bleeding revenue from hospitals. Our software abstracts pertinent clinical information from the EHR in a meaningful fashion to enable documentation that increases hospital capture, as well as increases productivity and revenue for the hospitals. So with this, I thank you everybody for listening. Join us in being the first movers in the space, and I'll take questions now.